would say she's mighty fine, but mighty fine only got you somewhere half the time, and the other half either got you cause daughter coming up short. Yeah, and I dig this now, even though you need a golden calculator to divide the time it took to look inside and realize that real guys go for real, down to Mars, girls. Yeah, I know you like to think your shit don't stink, but lean a little bit closer, see roses really smell like boo boo boo. Yeah, roses really smell like boo boo boo. I know you like to think your shit don't stink, but lean a little bit closer, see.
I definitely noticed I started recovering better. It's not necessarily what I want to do, because it's good to feel that like hype and continuing. You've got to get lunch, and like when whatever emails or jobs you've got to do that day. But to actually be like, no, I need to recover. Let's start now. Come down, chill, and then your mind's even more in the moment to start the next job. So yeah, wow. I think that's a window which sort of, once I actually discovered there was like a lot of benefit in that, targeted that even more. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing I want our audience to kind of get from that is study people.
Try it. Try these things.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Study people
I'm going to try it.
Study people that are succeeding.
I'll try it after this.
Headphones on, lay on the ground, feet on the wall, and it's like, yeah, you're already getting rid of that lactic, you're calming down, your blood pressure's coming down, everything is so.
So something that I wanted to ask as well, along the lines of that, so there's no music on, you're lying down, do you time it or you just go roughly 10 minutes?
Yeah, so there's you can get different apps. So one's just called like Bell Timer. It's more of like a meditation-y Buddhist kind of one. But there's so many, and yeah, it just basically checks in. So if you do like 10 minutes, you can say, remind me every 2 minutes with a little bell, and that also like helps keep you in the moment instead of being like, that was such a good set, I lifted 140, or like, hang on a minute, calm down. So yeah, some of the one I use is called Bell Timer. Yeah.
Bell Timer, and awesome, thank you. And are you consciously, when you're lying down, are you running things through your mind, or kind of just letting it all flow out and just relax? Or are you telling yourself things like, I need to let go of this, or anything like that? Or
no,
consciously checking your breathing? Yeah.
All breathing. Just really simplify it. Yeah, like, so just the rise and fall of your belly. So it's kind of just that awareness of rise and fall, and then just the feeling of rise and fall.
Question, I really need to know this. Goals.
Mm-hmm.
Have you always written goals? Do you write goals? Have you always written goals? How important are goals for you? How often do you review? Tell us about your goals, please. Yeah, I love it. Please tell us.
Yeah, so I've got like my sort of like training book. Goals are in the back. I sort of have like my yearly goals, and then I actually do a different format. So it's just one thing that works for me, and it's more of like it's like a recipe. So we all know like the pyramid, obviously, table. So it's like this shape of a triangle, and within it, it's like I just either do it if I have like big events. So after every major race meeting, I always do it, or just like weekly, especially leading into a comp. Like if I'm 8 weeks out, it's like I'm very diligent every day about it. So yeah, basically you put in there like what's worked, and some of the like self-dialogue sits outside, like what you need to improve on, and then like the uncontrollables. So it's sort of like gives you this like debrief picture of what's actually worked, what external factors that you've either dealt with or haven't dealt with, or like, what's been your self-talk, and then, sort of the goals too. So this has become a success recipe.
Yep.
And it's this pyramid, and then over time, like I've realized what self-talk has worked, what hasn't, what's been like physical things that have, or what's been like a common trend that's maybe derailed an event, or even like a routine. So yeah, I like that. And then obviously my goals are at the back. Another thing that's like really worked too is I have a whiteboard in my room. So I like obviously plug my phone in the other side of the room just because I don't want it near my bed because I don't have a full breakfast. So it's like
out of the way.
You don't set yourself up for failure. But yeah, sort of when I leave it, I've got my whiteboard, and I'm like a visual learner. So at the top it has all of my main goals and events. So it's got, the big Olympics rings, it's got like the world titles, it's got all like the key visuals of like
So
what
do you take a photo of them and then you stick them on the whiteboard so it's a bit of a vision board?
No, I draw it all.
You draw it all?
Yes, it's all just, it's just a big whiteboard.
That's awesome.
And I draw it. And then I sort of have some more personal sort of goals on there, or things, you know, like the 640, like the 3 things of gratitude, like when I'm waking up, what I'm doing. So things that's like my rules to myself, maybe you can call them.
Rules for success.
Yeah, and then I have like my Power 5, which I got from Andy Frisella and his book. So the Power 5 is just 5 simple things that you need to get done that day. And it's easy because you can wipe them off before you walk out the door. It's like, all right, what 5 do I have to do today? Boom, put them up, and you know, by the end of the evening, you tick them off. And that also has like my little simple calendar at the bottom, because I've never really been one to like overcomplicate with apps and visual coaching, and I like to pick up the phone and like call my coach in Brisbane, and I like to talk to people about this is how I'm feeling. I don't really want to like put it all into an app or a system and put every hour of sleep, and I think, you know, to have that hands-on with people, for me, it works better. But yeah, simply at the bottom, then I have my little like calendar, and it's sort of AM, PM, and what's on that week. So I have this like whole picture of like my goals, what I'm doing, what keeps me on track, what my 5 things are for the day, and how my week looks. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What, couple of
it's a
things.
pretty big whiteboard. It's about this big, but I think it works.
I need to get one.
That triangle,
It sounds awesome.
That triangle sounded like
I
unreal.
wanted to go back to that as well.
Would you be able to, doesn't have to be right now, you probably don't have it on you, just to be able to like send us something so that maybe we can put it as part of this video or just separate? It doesn't have to be an exactly exact example of what you've done or what you're trying to do. Even just a template, I think that could be really beneficial.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
How exactly does it work? Like, how do you do it with the triangle? So you have obviously the triangle, and then what do you put inside of it? The things you've done well, or?
Yeah, so if we put it in like an event circumstance, so I'm like stepping into like a world championship event, and I have this success triangle. So if we go back to, like, I vividly remember a World Cup that I won in Berlin, and I'd been really unwell. I'd kind of had some like life things going on, and like I hadn't slept 2 days before. Like I remember just being at this like absolute low of like no self-belief. And so like that one was, you know, my self-talk was like, you know, today this like nothing but number one mindset. And like some of these external influences of like, I love Pink, I love like, you know, her as a person, her attitude mindset, like, you know, so I remember at the time being like, she's a performer. This is my job. I'm just going out and literally performing today. Like, this has got nothing to do with me as a person, like, goggles on, race face, go.
Wow.
So it was kind of this, my whole thing that day was the music that I was listening to was her music. The things that I was saying was this nothing but number one mindset. It was this like all or nothing, like no safety net. I think I'd won like the World Cup prior. So, you know, it was like one of the last ones before Olympics, and I had like a TV show at the time. So there's all these like things going on. But I mean, just simply like I look back and it's like what really won me that race was what was in the middle of that triangle. And it was those sort of key things. And it was just getting every lap sort of not necessarily perfect, but like ticking off those goals. So it was like I knew I had to qualify in the top 5 to begin with. I needed to win, you know, the top sort of lap to get qualifying for the semi-quarterfinal and so on. So the flow-on effect. And that was in the middle of my triangle, and I just broke it down. And then some of the self-talk sort of sat outside of it. The uncontrollables were the life things going on, you know, things that were happening with my partner, the stress that didn't sleep for 2 nights. These are the uncontrollables that sat out here, but that didn't affect my performance. It was what happened inside this triangle, which was really the key success routine. And then it was, you know, my goals for that event, and sort of, managed to tick it off, won the World Cup, like did the fast qualifying, you know, went through the breakdown of the event, the race. And it was, you know, even inside it, I remember it was like even the timing, because we have to like time some of our caffeine intake to hit, you know, within 30 minutes to be like sharp for the event. So it was just, I mean, we break it down that much. And I knew that if I stayed on track, I would get the result, and walked away with, like the World Cup win. And so simple things to look back, and it's like, that was a very big external focus week, where it was like I was drawing upon not only music, but like this performer angle, like, and everything to come together. So.
Wow, that's awesome.
That is really awesome. When did you start writing your goals?
Oh, I mean, I remember being like 13, 14 years old in Canberra and wanting my first like phone. And I remember like setting goals even back then of like, I want a phone, Dad. It's like, well, you know, he challenged me at the time. And I remember the local Tuggeranong skate park has this big 6-foot spine. So it's like this jump. And I was trying to do it at the time, but I was like really nervous. And he said, oh, well, you know, if you achieve that goal, you can get a phone. So I think like right back to when I was about 13 was kind of like, I want to achieve this. And then I got a phone and, you know, the flow on effect of all that. But it's like a 13-year-old girl. Like,
started, and then you kind of triggered that positive reinforcement loop. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
I write it down, I do it, I get it.
I mean, you're not always going to get like phones and cars and jobs and all these other things in life. But yeah, so it would have started quite early. And yeah, I think there's the short-term goals, long-term goals, but a lot of time you can write it down and it's like that set and forget. And that's where I like the whiteboard.
Yes.
Because you can visually see like more of the long-term ones. You can see your weekly goals, which is like my training and things I've got to get done. And then you've got your Power 5 every day of, you know, your adulting, your tasks, your training. Like, that's your Power 5.
Do you have a question, Corey?
I do the same thing with the Powerlist. I actually have an app for it, but I felt like it was better for me writing it down on the paper, but it's still good to keep myself going. And I wanted to, did you have something you wanted to touch on in this before we move on?
Regarding goal setting?
Yeah, just around goals.
One thing was with goals, I found that also what helps me achieve them is the affirmations. So I don't know if you do it. I know that quite a few people practice it. Maybe some people think it's crazy even saying it out loud. Do you do anything like that? Do you have any affirmations that help you stay on track? Like you say things maybe like or in your head or out loud, I'm successful, I'm strong, I'm achieving my goals. Or even kind of say them in advance, something like I'm a champion, I've won my race in 2020.
It does sound crazy. So my mirror, growing up, so we like lost our home in the family bushfires, our family home, so the 2003 bushfires in Canberra. So we kind of like, our whole family went through everything of like losing everything we owned. We literally had our bikes. So when we moved house, I remember my dad at the time, he's been a really big influence, but he wrote out this like, I think he printed it offline. It was this like Champions Creed. And we'd just gotten into the new house and I'd put it on the mirror in the bathroom. And he's like, you know, like, just coming back to like the focus of like, we still have our bike, we'll build back everything else, like bringing that focus to what really mattered, and we still had family. So I remember that Champions Creed, and I remember I'd read it every day, brushing my teeth, and then it became so ingrained that like to this day I still know it, but I would read it every single day. Wow. So it was like, I'm a champion, I believe in myself, I have the will to win, I surround myself with winners, I'm cool, positive, confident, I have courage, I never give up. I'm willing to pay the price for success. I love the struggle and the competition. I vividly imagine what victory will feel like. I'm a champion and I will win. And it was just like...
That's awesome. That's a long creed to remember.
Oh, that's so... And you know what?
I mean, it's weird that it stuck because like I would have been 15, 16. So all the way through, like I never really printed it out again. But it is the power of like affirmations and being positive and, you know, just realizing like, I love the struggle. I love the competition. You like clean your teeth for that day and it's like, oh my God, I hate this. Like,
absolutely love the struggle. A lot of the successful people, they love the struggle. They embrace the suffering because they know that what's on the other side is greater. Corey and I were actually talking this morning when we were training. We're like, we actually like the suffering and we actually like doing what other people don't do because we understand that eventually you deserve what they don't have or you get what they won't have. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, because you become like comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's hard, like that daily dose of like discomfort. It's the being uncomfortable and then it grows. And I mean, you feel it as a kid. You're like, I don't want to do this presentation at school. And then that evolves into, I know how to do that presentation at school. But as you get older, it's like, you don't go to school anymore. So you don't necessarily put yourself in these environments where you have to have that daily dose of discomfort. You know your career, you know where you live, you know how to drive to work. Like you become such in this like rut. So yeah, the discomfort side, I've been doing it myself lately with just being off the bike and saying yes. It was like, I'm off for 6 months. So let's say yes to everything. It's like, whether it's podcasts, speaking opportunities, flying to Ipswich, launching a kids book, like doing things with like my girls' scholarship programs. yeah, I've sort of said like, yep, this is an awesome opportunity, let's make it happen. And, you know, the flow-on effect from that, it's like with my books, it's like now they're global, like on Amazon, like Barnes & Noble.
Can you tell us a little bit about your books?
Yeah, so, I mean, my girls' book, Girls Can Be, it's like for 6 to 8 year old girls, predominantly. It's like the educational just inspiration. So Girls Can Be Different was the first one, and then Girls Can Be Brave was the second one, and they're all sort of based off true stories and a real character, Caroline B. So it's not like fairy princesses and all these like typical kids books. And yeah, it's been like a really cool project that I actually, fortunately enough, like just jumped on Instagram. And I think too, like, you can overcomplicate things so much like now, whereas it's really easy. If you've got a goal, it's like you can do it. And simply for this book, I remember jumping on Instagram and I was like, who are inspirational people that I follow? And one was Tia Claire Toomey, and she was like the fittest woman on earth. She's got her book, Fittest Woman on Earth. And yeah, she's like the CrossFit Games like world champion. So I went to her page and I followed her and I was like, oh, she's got a book out. Who's her publisher? And then you go through the publisher, contact the publisher, and she's like, oh, I'd love to work with you. Then you get like a writer, you get an illustrator, and it's like next minute, you've got a kid's book, it's global, and then you're working on dropship, you're getting like gifts for Instagram, You're doing everything. It's like it all stemmed from who do you follow, who are you inspired by, who's done this, and it's like there's no limitations. So yeah, this sort of time off that I've had, it's been like, what can I do and how can I say yes? And
that's
you just drop the seed and then it expands, and next minute you're an author with a kid's book global.
Absolutely. What you said was so good. More people need to follow what you just said. You followed someone in a position you want to be in.
Yeah.
And you modelled them. You took your own tack, but you modelled that. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That is a true. That's a sign of humility, but also it's a sign of, I guess, the greatness, following someone in a position you want to be in, just modelling them and doing it. Mm-hmm. And now look, you have your own book. Mm-hmm. Is it proven to be successful? It's sold how you wanted it to sell?
Yeah, it's going really well. And then now it's like the audiobook side of it. There's like Indigenous, so Rubik 3 is a partner in Canberra. They've just like picked it up and pushed it through their like Indigenous reading network. So now it's like not only, you know, from that goal, it's now influencing not only girls and inspiring them, and I'm getting tagged on things on Instagram because the whole book's around like dress up day at school, the first one. And like I went as a BMX rider. I didn't go as like a princess or anything like that. And I was nervous to embrace my identity, embrace my goals and who I wanted to be. So the whole book's around that. And like now I just got tagged yesterday and there's like adorable little girl and she's got her trophy and she's in her like full race kit and she's got her book and it's like, it was dress up day at school and Caroline did it, I'm doing it. So
how does that feel for you, seeing that stuff?
It gives me like so much energy, and it's like I remember being that girl, but if I didn't take that initiative to like do this book and step out of my comfort zone to be like I can do it or give back or, you know, help with the education. So yeah,
wow,
it's definitely humbling.
So cool. Yeah,
it's cool.
Feel awesome. Do you
for you, how important is self-talk and self-image then? Do you see yourself as working towards a certain character or adding traits to yourself, or also what type of self-talk or things do you say to yourself or try not to say to yourself?
Yeah, well, definitely don't say like the negative things, like the can'ts, just cut those words out. It's like can or will or I, like I can. Yeah, I guess for me, like identity has always been around, you know, my sport, my professional career. There was a lot of moments where I did struggle, like this book in school, to embrace that I wanted to do a boys' sport, you know, which is very male dominated. And yeah, be this BMX bandit girl that was one of the boys. So, I mean, from the beginning, it was like, I kind of did have a few like setbacks and hurdles. But that just more grew into like the strength of embracing who you are and that character and sort of like not following the pack as such. And I think that's really helped then with when social media came involved and the branding and identity. And it's like for brand now, it's like to be unique and then to be consistent. I mean, that's what's going to build a following. That's what's going to have that authenticity. That's what's going to help align athletes with endorsement deals, partners. It really is that uniqueness, authenticity, and consistency. So I think that's probably like the main thing I focus on now, or just even that self-talk and belief, it's like if you live out really who you are and what you want to be, it's like I'm not ever going to be like, you know, this Barbie kind of like girl. It's not, and I'm not going to do that. And then I wouldn't sell out to, you know, the skinny girl teas or like things that will get you those $400 posts or like, you know, like that.
Because that's not you.
It's not me, but it is like instant gratification, but that's like not longevity. And that's not working towards like the goals, which for me, I've wanted to, biggest things is, because I was inspired by how hard my career was, like to get the ball rolling, was like I kind of want to be one of the greatest cyclists of all time, like, and the crossover of BMX, mountain biking, and I've started ticking those goals already, winning like 2 world titles in 1 year in 2 different cycling disciplines, which, you know, hasn't been done. So that sort of led me to be like the Australian Athlete of the Year, like a Canberra Citizen of the Year, won the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award, like all these things, and then the Sir Hubert Opperman, just like a cycling award, you know, ahead of Cadel Evans, Anna Mears, and all these like road cyclists. So yeah, I think definitely like staying on track with that. But those are sort of reminders. And I think it's helped me even just align with some of the awesome brand partners that I work with now, like Mercedes-Benz and like Harley Davidson, which is such an iconic like Vans sort of like brand. But yeah, like they sort of embrace me and who I am and this identity and, you know, the following and influence and, you know, everything that I've built. So yeah, but I'd say there's definitely 3 messages. They're just the consistency, because you've got to be consistent with your training. You've got to be to even be a professional athlete or get the results you want. Consistent with your mindset, and then consistent with your branding, messaging, like how you want to promote or influence, and then the uniqueness. Yeah.
A couple more questions, because we're very conscious of your time. We don't want to steal too much of your time. One question. You've succeeded. Well, you've won 8 titles. Now, what's really impressive about that is the number itself, because it's very easy to win one, many people will say, because it's that underdog mentality. It's something you need to prove, and then you kind of achieve it. Now, people go one of 2 ways. They either get there and they go backwards because they put their foot off the gas, and it's kind of they're content and they're happy. They've done what they've done. Or they're like you, and they're like, no, we're going to do more. We're going to get 2, 3, 4. We're going to start putting some numbers on the board. And it is actually quite hard. Many people find once they've hit that first bit of success to actually go on and really make a dent in it and be remembered and be great. What's motivated you after the first championship to then do it again and get better?
I'd say mentors. So Lane Beachley, she'd won 7 surfing titles. And after I'd won 1, we had this conversation, and she said, you know, you'll exceed my world titles one day. I was like, no, hell no. So I think, you know, other influences planting the seed in your own mind, and like that little bit of a challenge to be like, oh, maybe I will, maybe I won't. And like when I won the 8, called back up and I was like, you said I'd do it, I did it.
Wow,
like,
you called it.
Wow.
So other external influences, people helping you, so who you surround yourself with, I think is a massive part. Like, are they helping, you know, water the seeds which are going to make you grow and have the belief in yourself? So I think the inspiration was a big part for me to keep on going. And then just the diversity. So doing BMX and mountain bike, it gave me 2 platforms. And then I would say the hunger of setbacks too was a big part, because I went into the London Olympics as like the World Cup overall world champion, won every lap, quarter semi-final, got to the gate and unraveled everything. And it was like David Beckham staring back at me, and I'm like, oh, hi. And got on the gate. I know, he's cute, right? So
Can't deny.
Beckham. So
Beckham, if you see this.
And yeah, so I sort of unraveled the whole process from there and chose the wrong lane, didn't get the result, ended up 5th, and like watched those medals in front of me. And I was so let down. Like I remember I was let down with myself, like everyone who'd surrounded me. But I'd had this mentality of like, it was my race to lose, not that it was my race to gain. And that I had everything to gain. It was this amazing opportunity. It was like this instant self-pressure of like, I've done everything, ticked every box, this is my event to lose. And I just derailed it. So learning from that, afterwards I was so motivated. I was like, I want to win another world title. So I set this like crazy goal, and there was 3 world championships in 1 year, in 72 days, in 3 different countries. And it was like downhill, mountain biking, 4-cross mountain biking, BMX racing. So it was like 20 seconds, 3 minutes, and like 7 minutes with like the kind of diversity. 3 different bikes, continents, everything. And I set out on that goal to achieve the 3 world titles, and I walked away with 2. And that was like, I was so motivated. And that all stemmed from, I think just the setback of the Olympics and me not achieving that goal that I wanted to achieve. And there's like the voices and the influence. Like I remember on social media, I was getting messages from people saying like, you're a waste of taxpayers' money, because Olympians are helped also funded by like taxpayers' money. So there's so much that I remember just as like weight of the nation. And but to be like, okay, like what can I do and how can I sort of step up? And I think a lot of people like steer away from building that motivation from tough times and from adversity. Like you don't need to set a goal, set an intention, or like want to win or achieve necessarily from always this like rainbows and butterflies place. Sometimes it can be like, oh man, like I didn't achieve that, or like this like comment or these external sort of factors. So I remember like that next year I went and won 2, and I was like, oh my God, like what's the standard I've set? And like if I like set it even higher, look where I fall. It's like, aim for the stars, you can land on the moon. Same thing, same concept, but actually put into motion. And I think that was a lot of the flow on to like want to win more world titles, and then believe and just keep diversifying. And some years mountain bike, some years BMX, some years I fell short. Like
it all started, but you're saying not maybe all of it, but a lot of it was driven from that moment of failure, and then not only the avoidance of pain, but then that
no pain, no gain.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, and that vision of now I've got to make it happen and got to really make it. Yeah, you got to really.
And I think putting it out there as well, that's the hardest thing. Like to say it to your friends is one thing, but to put it out on social media, and I think that's been like a real daunting aspect of like sort of with my social media. It's really like, what you see, what you get. It's been hard because everything is so public, and it's like now with my surgeries and everything I've been going through, it's like everyone sees it, it's front and center, but then they know the struggles that I'm going to come back from. And I want to go, my next goals are the Tokyo Olympics next year, and they're going to see the 6 days in the week in the gym, which I'm about to start, when I've only ever done normally 2-3 days a week in the gym because I've had so much bike time. So I think to plant the seed and to throw your goals out there, like then to let everyone else help you be accountable, that also helped, I think, to win 8 world titles, because I put it out there, and then everyone helps you sort of be accountable to it as well.
You're quite young. You already have your eye on the next one, and you probably already know, I guess, not only what you want to do next, but even what you want the big picture to look like. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know necessarily like where I want to live or like what job I want to have when I grow up, because I've never had a real job. Don't grow up. I'm still a kid, like really ride a kid's bike for a living, so.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But in terms of like, I'd love to win more world titles. Obviously go to an Olympic Games. I'd love a medal. Like that's the epitome of any athlete, is to win an Olympic medal of any colour. But I think my greatest achievement yet will be coming back from, like I've just recently had 6 months off, and I've only just started on literally 1 kilo weights. Wow. So I'm in the AIS gym. I just put a video up on my social media, which is at Buchanan 68.
Go follow it.
I just put a little video up yesterday, and it's like, I think it's like that Kanye West Power song, and it's like literally starting from the bottom. Like I have these 1 kilo dumbbells, and I'm just doing like flies, and like I'm failing on 6 with 1 kilo. And that's because for 6 months, it's like I was T-Rex. So the first 3 months was no driving, no lifting my arms above my head, no lifting anything like heavier than 2 kilos. So I was sort of like this, and that was really just to help that sternum heal. It's a very like challenging bone because you can't splint it like a normal, you break an arm, you put a cast on, it sets and you forget about it and it heals. The sternum, you obviously can't really like splint it. I've got cables and wires and plates and screws and everything in there to hold it, but you breathe. So you've got to breathe every day, and it's that constant movement, and it's a cartilage bone, so there's a little bit less blood flow. And so I think just having like how much time off, this will be my greatest achievement yet. And I think it's exciting because I want to get to the Olympic Games, get back to obviously where I was, but it's more about my new personal best. Like, what can my body withstand now? What kind of athlete will I be? And like where, for me, just getting back, but then finding my new personal best, I think will be more of a bigger achievement, because I've had, a lot of curveballs like from life that's thrown at me, and all of the surgeries and things. So it's like a new body, new opportunity.
Absolutely. Quick one. We're not going to have heaps of time, but I really want to touch on it. We're talking about it off camera. How important is what you feed your body?
Very important. And I'm, I guess, extremely like OCD. I think that's been like one thing which has like helped me in my career, but also like kind of addictive like personality mindset, which like helps me stay on track. So when it comes to like diet, if I like get on like a fad or a phase, it's like I'm 100% on it. And I went down like the rabbit hole of, I had to drop 8 kilos before the first Olympic Games. So I was 72 kilos and I dropped back down to my race weight. And I remember I was just overweight. Like I was eating too much. Like I was in Europe, so it was like creamy carbonaras, pastas, breads, like all the good stuff. And it added up, and I realized like my body fat percentage was a lot higher. And yeah, so to bring that back down, all I did was cut out dairy and cut out gluten. And it was like my power to weight ratio went up. I dropped 8 kilos. My performance was better. My clarity on the bike, I could judge jumps better. I wasn't making as many mistakes. Like this whole autopilot thing came in, and I was like, I'm never having dairy or gluten ever again. So once I sort of cut that out, then 2 years ago, I went down the rabbit hole again of watching like all these like Netflix documentaries. It was like What the Health and Cowspiracy and Forks Over Knives and everything. And like I threw out all meat and dairy in my house. I was like, I'm vegan. Boom.
Wow. So, just from that moment.
I was like, let's see. And yeah, like I tried it. I think everyone needs to try things for their body. Everybody's like different. And I love the side of, I definitely had a lot less inflammation. So I found like I didn't really have to stretch as much because my body wasn't as tight. I was recovering better. I was sleeping really good. Like I enjoyed it. Like my skin really like cleared up. Like I noticed like the signs of everything, and I felt really good. And then I plateaued, and then I realized it was really hard for me to gain muscle. It was really hard for me to then heal. I was then having like trouble with just my bone healing. And we're like watching scans, and I'm talking to doctors. And obviously at this point, I've got the Australian Institute of Sport. I live in America, so there's 4 cardiothoracic surgeons, 2 doctors, Tour de France doctors, like everyone. And they're like, what are you doing? Or what's not working? And when we did all my bloods, it was like my vitamin D was low and some B12 and different things. And so then I started introducing like just a little bit of like meat, just obviously like clean white fishes and salmon or a bit of chicken. Still cut out dairy and the rest of it, but still high plant-based. And that sort of helped bring my vitamin D levels back up, give me some of those amino acids, which you can only really get from meat. So then I sort of increased some of them, and then obviously like the B12 and, you've got carnitine, creatine. There's so many things which actually like come from meat. Yeah. So once I did that, then my healing increased too. So I think I've found like a healthy balance of what also helps health, healing, what the blood results physically show. And I think everyone should do bloods because it won't lie.
You learn a lot.
Yeah, because you can tell yourself, I feel great, this is amazing, like go, and then your bloods tell you something different. So yeah, I would say I'm on a dairy-free, gluten-free, like high plant-based diet, but with a little bit of meat.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where I sit right now.
Do you track calories or anything, or are you're quite intuitive and you know what's good for your body and when to feed it?
We more track like results, performance, how I feel, skin folds, and then just all that like power to weight ratio sort of things as well.
How do you supplement? Do you supplement?
I do. So I do use like a vegan protein powder as well, just because for me like that dairy, casein, whey like doesn't sit very well. But yeah, no, mainly like I don't supplement a lot because I feel like you can get so much from food and having that intake. But I do, after like a big training session, have it's like a vegan protein powder that does have the added glutamine, creatine, sort of the sport element sides of some of the aminos added. And then I have had different phases where I've used like beta-alanine, which helps buffer lactic acid and things like that. So tried like the beta sort of beetroot shots, which help, you know, your oxygen and things and every juice imaginable. And but I think predominantly as long as you have that consistent diet and I think knowing your body and over time.
Consistency. You keep hammering on about it, but it's so key. So many people want that quick fix. And so many people want that. What's that one pill to look like, Carol? What's that one pill to look like that dude off the magazine kind of thing? Yeah. There's no secret, is there? There's no pill. It's consistency. So day in, day out. Yeah.
And your body, like, too, I mean, for me, when I really couldn't do anything for like 5 months, everyone's like, how did you not put on all this weight? Like, how did you not blow out? I literally could walk and then for the last 2 months sit on a spin bike. And I think a lot of it is like, just watching like, well, I'm not training as much, so eat a little bit less, like calories in, calories out. And eating, I think you can't go wrong with real.
I couldn't agree more. Whole foods, real foods.
Real foods, not packaged. It's not, you're not getting all these like additives and sugars and all this other stuff, which will just make you put on weight. So
absolutely.
Can't go wrong with real.
Yeah, perfect. Corey, do you want to?
Maybe one more from me before we wrap it up. I don't know if you have more. But with all of these things that you've accomplished and even the injuries and the setbacks, have you had any major like perspective shifts or changes of your mind or the way you see things, the world, everything?
I think probably more just from the personal side and like the spiritual side and like the daily gratitude, and I think also slowing it down a little bit as well and having like realizing, I guess, a little bit more of like who you surround yourself with, your friends, the influences, and just like general happiness. I think you can get so, and I'm guilty of it, like you get so carried away with your lives and your career and your work and your job that you don't actually like really look after yourself. And I think your body keeps score. So your body does also tell you what's going on in your mind before your mind realizes. So people that are struggling with depression, which is maybe like, you know, dwelling on the past too much, or people that are struggling with anxiety, which could be, you know, stressing on the future or what they've got, or even the past as well. It's like, where are we in the now and what brings that kind of happiness? I think that was a big shift to me, to bring a lot of balance back into my life. And I mean, that's why I've just pretty openly, like I've just gone through divorce and had some big shifts in my life too. And I think that's a big part of it. You got to look after yourself as well.
Like it. Very present, being very present in the moment really helped. Yeah, that's awesome. Look, one last question for me, and then we're going to wrap it up. I really want to ask you, say to someone who wants to succeed in their endeavours. Well, there's many people that want to succeed in their endeavours. They see you at a cafe, finish this really nice breakfast, drinking your coffee, like, there's Caroline, I want to be in a position that you're in. I want to be as successful as you in my life and my endeavours. What's the best bit of advice you can give me?
Start today. Yep. Probably like honestly start today, because everyone's like, oh, I'll start on Monday. Or I'll start that diet plan when like this happens, or the kids, or when I finish that next goal, or whatever it is. It's like, let's start today. Like, what can we actually change now? Whether it's what you're putting in your body, whether what you're putting out, whether your time management, whether like you're about to go to a lunch meeting with a friend that you haven't caught up with. It's like, leave the phone in the car. I can do that. I can start today. So, yeah.
Wow, that's really good. Start today. On that note, we want to wrap it up. We want to thank Ovolo Nishi Building for giving us this space, giving us this room. Absolutely awesome. Thank you, everyone there. We want to thank Caroline for her time. It's been absolutely amazing spending time with you, learning a bit more about yourself and your story. And yeah, guys, from Always to All Better, Corey and myself want to thank you so much for tuning in. Until the next one, thank you and goodbye.